My fellow Nerdicans, welcome back for another episode of That's So Nerdy. On this episode, we're going to be doing a deck profile for Xeno Gohan. Add up to one Piccolo Savior from beyond from your deck to your hand, shuffle your deck, and then negate this skill for the game. Boom, and you can do that at any time during your main phase, which is pretty sweet, and you'll see why here in a moment. It's also got an auto ability where if you burst 3, you get to draw a card when this card attacks. And to awaken this card, you must have 4 or less life. You get to draw a card, you switch one of your energy to active mode, and then flip this card over. And then he becomes, boom, Super Saiyan 4, Gohan Awakened ability. He's got an auto ability, when this card attacks, draw 1 card, then place up to 3 black cards from your warp in your drop. Auto, once per turn. When you activate an Overrealm skill, this card gets plus 5,000 power, critical, or double strike for the turn. So as I'm sure you've guessed by now, it is going to be an Overrealm deck, which is black. So, first card we're going to start with is the aforementioned Piccolo Savior from Beyond. It's got a permanent ability of during your turn, this card gets plus 5,000 power for every 2 markers on it, which is a pretty strong ability early on, especially when you start to mill your deck and Overrealm as you go through it. It has a plus 2 ability, activate main, choose 1 card in your hand and discard it, or you can add 1 marker to discard a card and draw a card, and then when you remove 3 markers, you choose up to 2 battle cards in your opponent's drop and send it to their warp, which is just kind of okay. And then this, we're running 2 copies of that card. Second card we're going to be running is another Unison. It is Super Saiyan 4 Xeno Gohan Beyond the Ultimate. It's got an auto ability of once per turn. When you activate an Overrealm skill, add a marker to this card, which is really awesome. And then when you manually add a marker to this card, you place up to 2 black battle cards from your warp to your drop. So that is really sweet in an Overrealm deck because it allows you to just continually refill your drop area without having to continually mill from your deck and risk decking out constantly. And then if you remove 3 markers, you get to add up to 2 black battle cards with powers between 20,000 and 30,000 from your warp to your hand, and then this card gets 15,000 power and dual attack. So that is really sweet. And we're running 2 copies of this card as well. Next card we're going to be running is Dende New to the Job. It's got deflect, so it can't be countered when it's coming into play. And then it's got an auto ability of when you play it, you get to draw a card, which is always nice because the more cards you have in your hand, the more strategy you can work out in a short amount of time. It's got an activate main that if you tap 2 energy, place this card in your drop area. If your opponent places a card in their energy using a skill during the game, choose one of your opponent's energy and place it in your owner's drop area. That right there is an awesome ability to counter decks such as the new Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta that allows you to add an energy to your from the top of your deck if your opponent takes damage. So, boom. The first time he does that, anytime you play a Dende New to the Job, it can you can start to terminate that extra energy that they're building up. And we're running 4 copies of that card. Next card we're running is Vegeta the Time Regulator. He's got an auto ability of once per turn when you play this battle card using Overrealm. Choose up to 2 black battle cards with an energy cost of 7 or less in your warp and place them at the bottom of your deck in any order. If you placed a battle card at the bottom of your deck, you get to draw a card. So obviously that is going to be awesome in an Overrealm deck because say you get your really important boss cards in your warp early on because you're trying to Overrealm to try and overwhelm your opponent. And you want to get that card back. That's what this guy is for. And he costs 2 energy, pretty sweet. And we're running 4 copies of that card. Next card we're running is our super combo. It's Temporal Rescue Trunks. We're running 4 copies of this card. It's got a Sparking 5 ability, and then when you combo with this card and your leader card is black, you get to draw 1 card. 10,000 combo power, 10,000 attack. Pretty standard super combo. And then the next card we're going to be running is going to be our first Overrealm card, Unrelenting Assault Trunks. It's got Overrealm 3, no energy cost. When this card is sent to the warp from the battle area or deck, add it to your hand. So that is really awesome because you get one of these guys in your hand, Overrealm it for free, and then at the end of the turn when it goes to the warp, because of the Overrealm Resolve ability, or effect, not ability, I apologize, it just goes right back to your hand instead of going to the warp. And we are running 4 copies of that card as well. Next card we're running is going to be Son Goku Dimensional Defender. This card is pretty useful in being able to refuel your drop without having to mill your deck. Also, at the same time, getting closer to be able to self-awaken if you haven't been able to awaken yet. So let me go over this card. It's got Overrealm 3 for 1 energy, and when it attacks, you may choose 1 card from your life and put it into your hand, and then if you do, you get to choose 2 black battle cards in your warp and place them in your drop area. So like I said, you get to refill your warp while possibly also getting closer to self-awakening, and it's an optional choice, so you don't have to do it every time he attacks, so that's also pretty sweet. And we're running 2 copies of that card. Next card we're running is going to be Trunks Elite Descendant. It's a 3-drop for with 15,000 power, 5,000 combo, Overrealm 3 for 1 energy, and when this card is played using Overrealm, you get to play up to 1 Vegeta Xeno with an energy cost of 3 from your deck in rest mode, then shuffle your deck. So the main reason behind him is obviously if you haven't gotten out your Vegeta time regulator yet, you're able to bring him out in rest. Excuse me, sorry about that. You're able to bring him in rest mode, and then you're able to play off of his Overrealm ability or Overrealm activation ability of bringing cards back to your deck from your board. So that is a pretty sweet little combo right there, and we're running 2 copies of that card. Next card we're running in this deck is the Black Mass Saiyan, the Devastator. It's got 19,000 power, 5,000 combo, 3-drop, and critical. And an auto that during your turn, if your leader card is black and there are a total of 15 or more Saiyan cards in your and your opponent's drop area, so between you and your opponent, 15 Saiyans. When this card attacks, when this card's attack is negated, it or fails to deal damage to your opponent. Sorry, it's a little hard to read through the camera. Let me go ahead and just... There we go. Now I can see it a little better. When this card attack is negated or fails to deal damage to your opponent's battle with their leader, or through battle with their leader, choose up to 1 card in your opponent's life and send it to their warp. So essentially, it's almost like an unblockable card, which is really awesome, especially in a game where you're very limited in life. And we're running 2 copies of that card right there. Next card we're going to be running is Killer Sword Trunks. It is got 20,000 power, 4-drop, 5,000 combo. It's got Xeno Evolve for also 4 cost, and it's got Double Strike, as I said, an auto ability of when a card evolves into this card, you choose up to 1 battle card in your warp with an energy cost of 3 or less and play it, which is really awesome, especially if, say, you had to Overrealm this card because you milled it from your deck, you needed to Overrealm to try and overwhelm your opponent to try and get some more power onto the board, and you want it back. Boom! Evolve one of your Trunks, either your Super Combo or Unrelenting Trunks if you played it onto the battlefield, or the Elite Descendant as well. Evolve it into this card, and then you're able to play one of your 3 drops from the warp if if you so desire. And then, next card we're playing... Oh, and sorry about that, there's 2 copies of that card in this deck. Next is Trunks Power Overseeing Time. It's another double striker Trunks. This one does have Overrealm as well, so it's got 20,000 power, Overrealm 4 for 2 energy, 5,000 combo. Double striker and an auto ability that when you play this card using Overrealm, choose up to 1 battle card in your warp and add it to your hand. And that's awesome because there's no energy restriction, so you can literally pick any of your cards in your warp and throw any of your battle cards, not your extras, I apologize, and then throw them right back into your hand and reuse them. Amazing, amazing ability, and we're also running 2 of those. Next card we're running is Awakening Warrior Bardock. It's got Overrealm 4 for no energy, and when you play this card using Overrealm, it gains double strike. So that's awesome. It's got 20,000 power, so if you play it for its 4 energy, it's got power on the board, so that helps either way. But if you play it using Overrealm, you play it without using any energy, you just go ahead and take your drop, throw it in your warp if you've got 4 or more, and then you've got a 20,000 double striker. Pretty sweet. And we're running 2 of those cards. Next, we've got Increasing Evil Mass Saiyan. It's got 20,000 power, which is a pretty common thing in this deck. 20,000 power, 5,000 combo, 4 drop, Overrealm 4 for 1 energy. And it's got an auto ability that when you play this card using Overrealm, you choose 1 card in your life and add it to your hand. If you do, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 5 or less and send it to the warp. So if they have excuse me, say they have a pesky blocker on the board, or a couple pesky blockers on the board that have really been giving you trouble, you have one of these guys in your hand, throw them onto the board, get rid of that blocker, and then hopefully your other attacks will be able to overwhelm their other blockers if they do have them available to them. And then the next card we are running is Godly Aptitude, Super Saiyan God Son Goku, another 20,000 power double striker, and 5,000 combo. It's got an activate main. If you pay 1 energy and discard this card from your hand, you get to choose 1 of your opponent's battle cards with 2 or less energy and KO it. Which is pretty sweet, especially earlier in the game, because as you can see, this is a 4-drop card, so you're not going to be able to play it till at least turn 4. And if you need to KO, say, Dodoria the Cold-Blooded, I believe it is, that it's a 1-drop, but if you add a life card to your hand, you're able to give it another 10,000 and double strike. So that's helpful in that sort of situation. And then it's also got an auto ability that when you play this card, you get to choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and send it to its owner's warp. So that's any of their cards. There's no energy restriction on that. That's awesome. Really, really sweet ability to have, to be able to play it for a cheaper cost to get rid of a lower cost card on the board that could be troublesome, or to pay it for its full cost and be able to take out any of his cards. Any of your opponent's cards, I apologize. And then we're running 2 copies of that card right there. Next card we are running is Desperate Onslaught Bardock, another 20,000 attack. It's got Overrealm 5 for no energy and critical, 5,000 combo. Auto ability that when this card attacks during the turn it is played with Overrealm, your opponent may not combo with battle cards in their battle area or activate blocker for the duration of the battle. So as I said before, if you have, or your opponent has multiple blockers on the board that are really getting you hung up, you're able to play this guy and it nullifies all those blocker abilities on the battlefield. Awesome, awesome ability to have if you're just trying to rush the board. Say you have some tokens on the board because your opponent has given you tokens for whatever reason that may be, whether they needed to sacrifice it for their abilities or so on and so forth. You're just able to run shop really quick and overwhelm the fact that they don't have the ability to use their blocker cards. Next card we're running, boom, Shenron the Wish Granter. This is a pretty sweet card, despite the fact that it can't attack, but it does make up for not being able to attack with the abilities that it has. So if you do have Sparking 7, when you play this card, you get to draw 2 cards and then choose one of these 3 abilities. You get to choose 4 of your energy and switch them to active mode, which is pretty awesome considering this is a 5-drop, so you almost untap all the energy used to play this card, which could be helpful in a long run strategy because maybe you're just trying to draw those original 2 cards, and in those original 2 cards you get a really good draw and you're able to do something really OP if you untap those energy. So that's really useful right there. Or you get to choose one of your battle cards with an energy cost of 3 or less from your drop area and play it. So that's also really useful because you get to bring back one of your 3-drop Overrealm cards. Boom. Or no, it's from your drop. Excuse me. It doesn't say what, it says from your drop. So if you have played it in one of your cards in your drop where it was killed, or used it in a combo, you can bring it back to your hand and then either use it in a combo again, use it for its Overrealm abilities. Boom. Just another attacker right there, or another way to add power or strength to your side of the board. And then the final choice is you get to choose one of your leader cards or battle cards, and it gets plus 15,000 power and triple strike for the duration of the turn. Which, if you're just trying to overwhelm your opponent, obviously it's a little later in the game because this is a 5-drop, so it's going to take a couple extra turns to get that energy out there to be able to play this ability. Say your opponent still has 5 life left. Boom. You play that 3rd ability, throw that triple strike on, say, let's just pull up a random one. Throw the triple strike onto, say, this Bardock that you just overwhelmed for free, and now they can't use blocker abilities. And because you just overwhelmed, you can also give your leader double strike. So now you have a triple striker and a double striker, and they're not able to activate blocker or combo with cards in their battle area. So that's a sweet little combination right there to go in for the killing blow if you haven't already brought them down far enough by the 5th turn. Next card we're playing in this deck is another 5-dropper. It's also another evolution card. This one's also got 25,000 power. Oh, I apologize. We are running 2 of these Shenron, and it's got 10,000 power, or 10,000 combo if you pay 1 energy. Let's return to Trunks right here. Xeno Evolve for 5 energy, which also matches his pay energy. 25,000 power, 10,000 combo if you pay 1 energy, triple striker. And it's got an auto ability. When a card evolves into this card, draw 1 card, then choose one of your energy, switch it to active mode, then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to their warp. So that allows you to restand your energy, obviously, to prepare you for a counter attack. Typically by the time you get this guy out there, you're probably gonna win, to be honest, unless they find a way to counter all your attacks or combo out of all your damage. By the time this Trunks gets out here, you're probably pretty sure to win the game off. I apologize about that. Didn't mean to blow out anybody's eardrums. And we are running 2 copies of that Trunks. And then the last one of our battle cards, we are running Mira Creator Absorbed. We're running 3 copies of this card. It's got 30,000 attack, 10,000 combo if you pay 1 energy, Overrealm 4 for 1 energy, and deflect, so it can't be countered as it's coming into play. It's got an auto ability that when you play this card using the Union ability, which is unfortunately irrelevant in this deck because I don't have any of the other ingredients for his Union ability, but that's not why he's in here. You'll see why he's in here in just a moment. But when you play him using the Union ability, you get to choose 3 cards. Your opponent chooses 3 cards in their hand and sends them to their warp, and this card gains double strike for the duration of the turn, which is awesome in its own right. But the second auto ability is why it's in this deck, and that's when this card attacks, this card gains 5,000 power for each card in your warp. And typically by the time you have this card, or by the time you want to play this card, you have at least 7, probably 7 to 14 cards in your warp. And that's just going to boost the crap out of this card and make it so you don't even have to combo. You can just attack your opponent and overwhelm them with the amount of power that he just gets for existing. And that is the last of our battle cards. Now let's move into our extra cards. This should go pretty quickly considering how they're all pretty similar. We're going to start off with our first counterattack. That's going to be Power Burst. It's a 1-drop, and if your leader card is black, you get to negate the attack and then choose 1 black battle card in your drop area with an energy cost of 1. Drop or warp, and with an energy cost of 1, and add it to your hand. So you're able to bring your... the only one with a 1 cost is your Dende new to the job. So that's actually pretty useful in the fact because you're able to bring him back, and then if you remember, his activate main, if you pay 2 energy and place this card in your drop, you get to, if your opponent has placed energy into their energy using a skill at any point during the game, you get to take an energy and put it back into their drop. So if you're just able to recycle that guy back 4 times, then you're able to just continuously mill away at your opponent's energy. And then you also have the option that if you wanted to, say you have more power bursts in your drop or your warp that you want back, you can do that as well. And the real kicker to this is if you have 5 or more cards in your drop, you can, instead of paying the energy cost for it, draw a life card. So if you want to counterattack but you still want to get close to Self-Awakening, say your opponent's attacking you with a double striker or critical, or a double strike critical, something like that, you're able to negate the attack, still take the life card to your hand instead of having to drop it into your drop, and take the double cost. It just works out better in your interest to be able to do that. And you're still able to get closer to Self-Awakening if you haven't awakened already by that time. Next card we're going... Oh, and we're running a full playset of that. 4 cards, for sure, because it's just an awesome negate for the black. Awesome. If you're running a black deck, I highly recommend that in any black deck you ever play. It will always be useful, always. Next card we're running is another counterattack. It is Instant Transmission, 10 times Kamehameha. And then you get to negate the attack for 1 energy, and then place up to 2 black battle cards from your warp into your drop. So that's really useful in this Overrealm deck, especially because you're able to refuel your drop without having to mill from your deck. And if you remember, that's something that your one of your Unison cards also does in this deck. So that's always something that's very useful in an Overrealm deck, is being able to refill your drop from your warp without having to risk decking out by having to mill from your deck constantly. And we are running 4, or actually, no, 3 of those because I don't have 4. I think maybe the next time I get enough funds to order singles, maybe I'll get one, because I believe it's only like a 10-cent card. The next card we're running going to be Dark Plot. It's a 4-drop extra card with a pretty sweet activate main ability. You get to choose one battle card in your warp with a cost of 4 less and play it, and if that battle card has the Overrealm ability, choose up to 3 of your energy and switch them to active mode. So that essentially makes this a 1-drop. Obviously you have to have the 4 energy to be able to use it in the first place, but if you bring back a card that has the Overrealm ability, which obviously many of these cards in this deck do, you get to restand 3 of those energies and possibly use them on something else to finish off your opponent. And we are running 3 copies of that card. And the final card we are running is Time Transmission G. It's got an activate main ability for 4 energy. Choose up to 1 black battle card with an energy cost of 4 or less in your warp and play it. If you play that battle card and it has Overrealm or Dark Overrealm, you choose up to 2 energy and switch them to active mode. So essentially it's the same thing as Dark Plot, except it also covers Dark Overrealm. So, and you only get to restand 2 energy because it gives you a wider spectrum of searchability for the cards in your deck. Even though I don't have any Dark Overrealm in this deck, I just wanted to be able to play more, or the possibility to be able to play more of my 4-drops from the warp in order to be able to just wipe the board with my opponent, because from here to here they are all 4-drops and almost all of them have double strike or critical or some ability that is just overpowered in the combination of usage with the rest of the cards. So that's going to go ahead and conclude this video. If you like what you saw, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. Everything's appreciated. Stay nerdy.